Whew, give me a minute. I was outside in the sun. Okay, well, I was recently watching a Dr. Phil show. Um, it wasn't the entire episode, but it was on the watch selection on Facebook. You know, you get the little selections. I was watching one of the show excerpts today, and there was this woman and her sister talking with Dr. Phil, and this woman was I don't know how to explain it, but what I'm trying to get at is that by the time it got closer to the end, or like Dr. Phil is like, okay, so like you could tell he made headway, like he got through to her. I could see everything in her face. She felt heard for the first time in I don't know how long, probably her whole life. I don't know. But watching this, it brought back something inside of me that I didn't know I had. For a long time, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 8 years old. I was in the 3rd grade. I was in the 3rd grade? Yeah. Anyways, from that time on, it almost felt like everyone that was supposed to help me decided that they were gonna not help me. I was told things like, you're crazy. I was told things like, you're a spoiled brat, you're a drama queen. And these are things coming out of therapists, okay? These are people that were supposed to help me. I remember being so young thinking, okay, I'm finally gonna be heard, and they're gonna hear me, they're gonna whatever. And I remember I didn't even get a word in before they were letting me have it, and I just remember shutting down. And this happened up until I was like 16, 18 years old. I don't think I was 18 yet. 16 years old. I do remember that because I had Elijah by that time. Just telling me how I was worthless and I'm reactive and everything. Back to the point, this woman that I was watching on Dr. Phil on Facebook, she had been hurt so deeply by what I assume was the same attack. She felt like she should have been heard by these individuals that were supposed to help her. And then looking at it, I was like, it probably wasn't therapists. It was probably like more like somebody in school that she trusted ended up betraying her trust, or, you know, she was being good and all of a sudden got verbally, emotionally, mentally abused by these individuals, and she started being reactive. Let me hurt you before you hurt me type of business, right? In the show, she's 23-ish, 24, give or take. Again, I don't know when this show aired or whatever. I only watch on Facebook. She is the type of person at this time, as she's explaining herself, if she didn't like the way you look, talk, dress, she was gonna attack you. Whether it was verbally, physically, emotionally, she was attacking at all costs. I was thinking to myself, wow, you know what? That was probably the intention of all the people that were supposedly trying to help me. What they were actually doing was paving a path for me to follow. I said it after watching it while I was just doing my little, like, ooh, they wanted to categorize me, like, okay, well, you're here, so I'm going to tell you what I believe you are or what your status is. So I didn't live in the ghetto, but I lived in a low middle class life, and this was the category that these individuals in my skin color and whatever, right? They're like, oh, we're just gonna place you there and we're gonna give it to you. We're gonna make you believe this so that you follow the path we want you to follow. That wasn't my initial thought. I only came to that conclusion after watching this episode because it resonated with me so much. My initial thinking of it, which I don't know which one is better or not better or whatever you want to say. But from where I was looking from, it was almost like, I feel like I'm in a really good place emotionally, spiritually, maturingly, whatever. It was almost like they wanted to take credit for them trying to shove me in the wrong direction, or, you know, like, oh, I don't know. Something in my mind was like, they want credit. If I get to where I'm supposed to be, and it's like this great being, you know, they want me to say, oh, thank you, you know, you helped me get to where I am, thank you. Like, no. I was like, Jesus, I know you want me to forgive them and love them and whatever, but right now I really want to watch them die at your hand, Lord God Almighty. Like, I really do. That was before this episode of Dr. Phil. And this episode of Dr. Phil really, almost revelation when I say this, because watching her was like, that's where they wanted me to be. That's the path that they really wanted me to take. They were setting a path for me. And I understand I had some outbursts and all this stuff as a kid. I was not a perfect child. But you gotta understand, as a child and my upbringing, I was never really heard. I remember in middle school, I think it was like 7th grade, one of the teachers in front of class just decided to ask a question. How many of you kids know your parents love you even if they don't tell you? And I'm thinking, nobody's going to raise their hand. Everybody except me, maybe and one other student, I didn't raise their hand. And I'm looking around, I'm like, how do you know? How do you know your parents love you if they don't tell you? And not that my parents didn't tell me that they loved me, because they did. But I just didn't feel loved. And so from that moment, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I feel loved and it just doesn't feel like love. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe I am a drama queen. Maybe I am a spoiled brat. So that's when those negative things that these individuals have instilled in me or tried to instill in me were starting to take place. Like, it was like, oh, and now you have to become this person that they want you to become, so that I can follow the pattern that they want me to follow of, you know, you grew up in this part of the city, you went to these schools. I don't know, you know, it sounds ignorant when I hear myself, but it makes so much sense. And hearing, like, and now having a child, I don't know. Now, I don't want to talk about the love with the parents and all that stuff, because I think now, being an adult and a mother, it's kind of like, whether I believe that they love me or not, actions truly speak louder than words, to me. So it's just, there was nothing that followed the words coming out of somebody's mouth. It was always just words. There was no action. So, after I knew that face. I knew that face that she's like, oh my God, I finally was heard by somebody. I resonated with her. I was like, wow. I know how it feels to try and explain yourself to somebody and they're not hearing you. They're not hearing you. What they're hearing it's hard to even explain. It's almost like having to be spiritually aware. And not everybody is spiritually aware. And I don't mean that in a religious way. I just mean that like when you take tone, momentum, and the actual words and separate them. What is actually being said? She felt heard for the first time ever, probably. And I remember that feeling. Like somebody actually heard what I was saying. And it changed my life. I just thought that was amazing. And I just thought, I was dumbfounded. I was like, whoa. Like, it did feel like a revelation. Like, these people that were being so awful to me really wanted me to go down the wrong path, the path that they paved for me, not the path that I chose, right? You know, but the path that they paved for me. And something that spoke to my heart was like, Alyssa, they may have paved that path for you, but I set this one for you. And it was a decision that I believe the Spirit of God at a very young age in me instilled in me. It was like, they're going to tempt you to go that way. They're going to tempt you to go down the red road. You know what I mean? It's Wizard of Oz. They're going to try and get you to go down the red path, but follow the yellow one. That just came to me, and it's actually a very good analogy. But it was truly like what I felt was spoken to my heart. It was like they wanted you to go down this way for whatever reason. Would it be like an I told you so, or oh, well, we need to medicate her, she's just like, or another body in the prisons or something. I really don't know. I don't care. But it really must burst their bubble that every time they had a chance to get me to go their way, I made a decision. And I honestly believe that it was God directing me, whether I was conscious of it or not, saying that's not the way you're going to go. And I was choosing the hard way. I was going the hard way, which is God's way, because it is not easy by any means. I kind of giggle at it because I was like, I wash my clothes in the bathtub and then hang them outside to dry. Not because I don't have the money to wash and dry. We had a washer and dryer, but for whatever reason, parts got lost, stolen, broken. I don't know. So had to get rid of them. They're just taking up space. My mom and my sister go to the laundromats and go get their stuff done. I choose to say, I already pay for water. I'm already paying for this apartment that I pray to God provides more money, because I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be here. I choose to wash the clothes in the bathtub and then hang them outside to dry, because it cost nothing except labor and time, you know. I keep telling myself, okay, once I have like a couple of outfits in the laundry basket, I'll do it. I end up waiting till the laundry basket's like overflowing, and I'm just like, oh, why did I do this to myself? But I mean, that's an analogy all in itself. Just like a spiritual walk. It's like, shoot, you know, I let it all pile up. I could have dealt with it when I noticed a couple of things, you know. I had time. It doesn't take very long. Scrub, hang out, ring it, whatever. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't a spiritual analogy. Maybe that wasn't an analogy. Anyways, I forgot where. Get to your point, Alyssa. My point is, all these things happened, I believe, to set me down a road that was categorizing me or putting me in a bracket of individuals that they would classify as unruly. I don't know, just a different classification of individuals. And instead, I chose not to listen, which is crazy to hear myself say, because I went through depression for years. I was depressed when I had to carry my cat Annabelle. I don't even remember how old I was. I just remember I was in elementary school. I remember carrying her lifeless, bloody body to the back door. Mom, I don't know, like, I was traumatized. I told my dad, don't let her out, don't let her out. I remember it so vividly, like, don't let her out, something's gonna happen. I was telling my mom the other day, I regret not saying goodbye to her. But I was so young, I didn't know I had the choice, and no one asked me. I think from then on, I was a very depressed individual. And then diabetes set in, and that's a whole other realm of depression. And that's kind of where all the therapy started. And it's not a lot, I'm not talking about a lot of therapy. I'm saying my parents had a bunch of resources. These nurses and doctors were like throwing resources at them. And I want to say my parents, because ultimately whoever made the decision went along with the decision. It said, oh no, we're going to stick to Jesus. We're going to stick to God. And I'm not shaming that. I'm just saying God also gave these doctors and nurses the ability to reach out and be like, hey, there's these other people that have resources, like they have the ability, the tools to help out. And it almost felt like everything that I enjoyed going to the therapy. Not the therapy, because they were awful to me. I enjoyed going to these meetings, I guess they were, and I say going like I went a million times. No, I went like twice, if that. I really enjoyed it because I felt like, oh my God, I'm not alone. There's somebody else like me. It was almost like if I enjoyed anything, it was taken away from me. So I suffered a lot of loss. Trauma from loss, because loss, whatever. So I never really grew too attached to anything anymore. And I was watching another Dr. Phil show, and he gave like 3 reasons why a teenager's gonna get pregnant. And I was like, oh, I'm probably number 3. Because I needed something. I wasn't getting what I needed emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I wasn't being fed. So it led to teenage sex, pregnancy, motherhood. Which, by the way, my parents there's other family members in the church before that time that were like, oh yeah, we just took the child because this child having a child ain't gonna do, no way, no how. I was like, that ain't gonna happen, no. This is mine. God gave me this child. It's my child. You are not gonna take my child. I went through a lot of shit. A lot of stuff. It really hurt. I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, I didn't once say, like, I don't care if you don't believe me. Because I remember being a kid and thinking, you know, after being told all these things by therapists, my whole mindset was like, I'm not going to tell anybody my story. They're not going to believe me. What's the point in sharing my story if they're not going to believe it? So I just chose, I guess, to keep my mouth shut or give bits and pieces of my story to individuals that would, I don't even think they intended it, right? Or neither did I. It was just like something in me was like, speak about this, and it just ended up coming out. Like an unconscious decision, just share a little tidbit of my life. I think the whole point of me making this video is really to get awareness out there about perspective. There are people that will do everything in their power to destroy your name, to destroy how everybody views you, because they feel very small. If they feel intimidated by you, if they feel threatened by you, they will destroy your reputation before you even get to build a reputation. That is their only goal in life. I'm still working on forgiving those people. I know God says be quick to forgive. So I say it, but I don't really know if I mean it or not yet. So I let God know that out loud, like I am right now. I write it in my journal. And maybe this revelation is part of that forgiveness, of letting go of it. In the Bible it says you don't have to be thankful for the trial or the test, but be grateful through it. Through it, not like, yay, you know, my car got crashed into, yay. No, like, God, I know this, I didn't plan this, I hope you didn't plan this, Jesus, but you know what, I'm alive, thank you. You know what I mean? If you got that analogy. If you didn't, then I'm sorry, maybe you're not awake. There are people out there that are, their only goal in life is to destroy those who they don't believe are worthy enough. And unfortunately, I was a target for that. I'm only 27. I turn 28 very soon, in a couple of months, and honestly, by the grace of God, I'm not where they wanted me to be. I'm not, you know, I guess a prostitute. I don't know what they wanted me to do. Just the words they were saying to me, and me listening to this girl on Dr. Phil, I was like, that could have been me. I was angry for a very long time because of it. I think I skipped over that part, how I related with her. My anger could have exploded the way it exploded with her, and it did. Some parts of my anger spilled over, and I erupted on whoever was closest to me, unfortunately, and that's usually what happens. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that whether it was subconsciously, unconsciously, or consciously, I chose not to go down the path that was paved for me. I chose to go down the path that was set down for me by God. I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I don't want to be. Yeah. If you guys didn't know already, I'm a certified peer support specialist, and that's just a little bit of my story. After watching a shortened version of one of the episodes of Dr. Phil, I'm certified by Recovery Innovations to create environments that empower and improve individuals in any way, whether it be spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Know that I hear you. I hear you and I see you. I don't know what you've heard about me. I don't know what anybody's saying about me, but I'll say it about myself, and that's why I made this video. I guess I'll say this. I don't really accept sympathy. I don't think any part of my story desires sympathy or anything, but I just felt like I needed to just put this in here before I go. I don't desire sympathy whatsoever. I don't need you to say, poor you, sorry, you know. I do believe I am an empath, and all I ask is to put yourself in my shoes. If you don't know what my shoes look like, feel like, or even what I've seen or heard, then don't. Be open about that. Empathy is being able to not feel sorry and putting yourself in somebody else's situation. I know a lot of people who talk the talk, but they're not really walking it. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people my age who love to say stuff like that. But they're just another one in the boat. They're just another one saying it and not doing it. And I get it. You want it easy. But sometimes the harder path builds wisdom, while the easy path creates arrogance. So, I don't know who that was for. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.